What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out the Zeapon Micro 2 Motorized Slider. Let's get into it. I've had this slider for months and months now. Full disclosure, Zeapon did send this to me for free to review. However, they're not impacting what I say on the video. They don't get to watch this before it comes out. So I've genuinely put this thing through its paces. I mean, I've used it a lot for B-roll, for more landscape shots. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I really appreciate a company that steps back and lets me take my time and really puts this through its paces than trying to pump a video out when I really can only give you guys my first impressions. So I've used this for quite a few months now, so I can genuinely give you a good review on what I feel this slider has to offer. Let's talk about the specs a little bit. This is a motorized slider that has a 54-centimeter length, so it actually will double up on itself. Even though it is very compact and small, the way they've designed this is it will almost double the length of what it is. It's this innovation stuff that I'm now starting to see in a lot of sliders. Every slider from here on out really should be doing this design. The Micro 2 has fluid dampening technology is what they're calling it. Basically means it's really smooth, and from my testing, that is 100% true. It can hold all the way up to 8 kilograms. So we're talking a little over 17 pounds. That's a lot of weight. They don't recommend that you do that all the time, but it can hold up to 17 pounds, which for how small this thing is, again, is ridiculously impressive. Of course, this slider has a lot more to it, like it's got a locking pin on it, so the head of it actually isn't moving when you're transporting it, which is really smart. Like I said earlier, I've been using this thing for a while now. I actually shot a full kind of home commercial style video with this Micro 2 slider. There will be a video coming out soon that's got a tutorial more diving into DaVinci Resolve, and with that commercial, I could not have got some of those shots, or it would have made it a lot more complicated in post if I would not have had this slider with me on that shoot. Let's go over the things that I like about this slider in no particular order. Number one, this thing is stupid quiet. I mean, for how impressive it is holding so much weight, I could have the camera audio on board easily and have no worries about it picking up weird noise. The second thing, like I mentioned earlier, is this can go a very far distance. And the way they have it set up is if you're going forward and backwards, you don't have to worry about that track being shown on some of those shots. And if you're going side to side, it's really giving you a decent distance for how small this thing can compact into. Number three, we already talked about how much weight this thing can hold. I put a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K rig on that, very rigged out, had no problem with the weight. I put the A7S III on there with the Ninja V on top of it. No problem whatsoever. This thing just kept on chugging. A lot of these sliders I've used in the past, I've had to kind of correct them in post and almost add stabilizer on top of them. Sometimes it just is what it is. Maybe you're in an uneven spot or the camera is very close on focal length, and then sometimes you do have to add that. This one, however, I very rarely, I mean, maybe once did I have to put the stabilizer on it, and it's because I was shooting like a macro shot and I really wanted it to be over the top smooth. But overall, this thing is very smooth, and I really didn't see much shakes at all in it. Another thing I love about this slider is the time-lapse mode. Now, I'm not really a photographer. I do, however, take the occasional photos for Instagram, social media, whatever it is, and I like taking photos, but I'm primarily a videographer, cinematographer over a photographer. Regardless, I had to try out the time-lapse mode and see how it turned out, and I was thoroughly impressed. For me, being a videographer primarily, I was able to get through it just fine, which brings me to one of my last points of the top things I love about this. There's so many that I can't really just go down and fanboy all over this thing because you would just get sick and tired of watching the video. The last thing that I really like about it is the app is really easy and works really well. So if we launch the app up, the first thing you need to do is just repair it, especially if you've already done this before. It's very fast. You can see inside there's a lot of controls. The main one is your slider at the top, left, right. And then what you can really do, which I like specifically, is you can set points. So let's get this all the way to one side. Let's set a point by clicking number 1. Then we're going to drag it all the way to the other way where we're liking it to go. And we will add a point on number 2. And you can actually in here, you can slow it down by dragging one down to the other or speeding it up. or you could actually just grab both and bring it up. It's really got a lot of customizable options in there, which I love. It's all laid out really simple. Of course, you can add more keyframes, and you can, let's bring it over here, something, we'll hit number 3. And now we could speed it up in the second one, have it slow down by the third, whatever you're wanting to do. You can really do a lot. Now the tilt, rotate, and follow focus we'll get to here in just a little bit. Another thing that I really like is you can actually have it loop. So you can have it play and just continually loop, especially if you're doing like an interview and you want to have the camera just doing a little bit of moves or something like that. That's a really nice feature. Of course, you can stop it at any time. In the second page, you've got all the time-lapse things. Again, I'm not really going to dive into that because I'm not a photographer. There's plenty of videos that kind of go into that a little bit better. However, if we jump back into the video thing, you can see they've got tilt, rotate, and follow focus. They're grayed out right now, which brings me to another point on things that I'm really hoping for in an updated version or an add-on to this. I would absolutely love to see them come out with another module that you could add on to this that would have the tilt and pan head that would attach to it. That would bring this slider up to a whole nother level, because realistically, that's one of the things that I wish this one had that a lot of the new sliders have, is they are integrating that into it. Having that head be able to pan back and forth and tilt up and down, that would be an absolute game changer. Another thing I'd love to see them do in another revision is maybe make it just a little bit smaller. Again, this is just wishful thinking. I absolutely love the size of this thing. I think it's great. It's a little hefty, but I like that because it's got some weight to it and I know it's not going to break. But I would like to see them come out with maybe one that's a little bit more refined, even smaller, so we could put it in our bags without the carry bag that comes with it. The Micro 2 motorized slider is phenomenal, and it has actual buttons on the outside that you can program by double clicking and holding it down, or just doing it yourself. It works great. But I would like to not have to pull the app out at all to be able to add keyframes. I would love to see Zeapon come out with a new version of this down the road that has everything that's basically in this app. You could just have that in the slider itself and not have to worry about pulling out the app unless you really wanted to. Even if it's a dumbed down version, I would love to see something like that, some kind of screen actually on the slider itself. Let's talk about the two things that bother me about this slider. Number one is the battery port where it hooks in. I've talked about this even on monitors, for example. I don't know what the deal is. It's really hard for companies apparently to have it just be a good, satisfying hard click in there. Now, this slider does hold the battery very well. It holds NPF batteries, and it does a little bit better if you have the smaller ones, but I've got some really beefy big ones that I have in my office, and especially if I'm not going to be taking it out on the field, I'm just going to put the big one on there because it's going to last me forever. But there's really no click or hard push into it. It kind of just like squishes into it is the best way I can explain it. It holds it okay, but I can also just come up and just like pull it off if I wanted to. There's no release button or anything like that that's really holding it in place. I know that's an extra step, having to push something in before you pull the battery out. Maybe some people don't like that, but for me, I would much prefer knowing it's in there secured for sure and have to push a button to release it than just be able to pull it out. The second thing is the ball head. Now you can get a Zeapon ball head that goes along with this. It works great. I've seen some kits where it has the ball head with it and some where it's not included. And they also have a base plate that hooks to the bottom of it, so you can set that on a table without having to hook it on a tripod. It works really good. The slider itself, the motors can handle it fine, but the ball head is kind of the weak link of the team. I've found myself putting other heads on there, tripod heads, and it seems to give me a little bit better control. I'm really just nitpicking here, but I would like to see maybe an option of your guys' fluid head or something that is a beefier one for more of the pro guys to be able to buy that and add it on to it. That would be really awesome. My final thoughts on the Zeapon Micro 2 motorized slider. If you are in the market for a slider at this price point, and again, I'll have links in the description below, it is a really good slider, especially because I've got a feeling that they are going to be bringing out that attachable head that maybe will fix the ball head issue like I was talking about, because it'll be much stronger and it will give you the pan and tilt options and it'll all be integrated. However, I would still recommend this slider. I've used this thing nonstop, even without the pan and tilt head that I'm hoping comes out soon. This thing is great. It has really really made my B-roll a lot easier to shoot products. And again, like I talked about that commercial that I've shot in my house using this slider, it made my job so much easier. It helped me get through that shoot so much faster. So if you are in the market for a slider, I would check this one out. I will have links in the description below, of course. That's it for me today, guys. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment below, subscribe, ring the bell, you know, do all those things. You guys are amazing. I'm the Iron Giant. I'll see you next time. Peace.